Hey everybody, it's Kate Richburg, and it is time for our Wednesday Facebook Live or Beadshop Live. We're not just on Facebook, we're everywhere. So it is great to see all of you all. A lot of you are jumped on already and are chatting, and Janice is over on YouTube doing some moderating, and our Gita is all the way over in Denmark doing some moderating over on Facebook. Um, Gosh, there's a bunch of you on here. It's great to see all of you all here as I scroll through the chat. It's great to have you. Wow, what a weekend we had. Today, I'm live. It is Wednesday, August 24th. And I see some of you from our retreat have jumped on to say hello. What a weekend we had, you guys. I hope everyone made it home safely. It was such a pleasure to have all of you that joined us for the bead retreat. I know Emily and I both were very I don't know, honored, happy, all of those words to have you all with us. I feel like, pardon me, we all learned a bunch of really cool stuff. There was a lot of conviviality and creativity. So we are doing it again next year. And just to let you know, we do have the dates earmarked. So I'll give you a sneak peek of those so you can mark your calendars. We'll release the enrollments probably very early in 2023, but you know, stay tuned to our newsletter because we'll put that out pretty early in the year. The dates for next year for August 2023 will be August 18th, 19th, 20th, and 21st. So it's kind of that third weekend of August, and we'll be meeting again back in the beautiful hills of San Juan Bautista, California. So if you want to join us, mark off your calendars. I booked plenty of private rooms, so the rooms will be private. Again, people won't have to share unless they unless they want to. So it was a really good time. So Emily took a whole bunch of photos. What we did on our last night, we were there. We kind of did a little roundtable discussion of the work that everyone did. And it was really kind of an interesting and refreshing thing to see. A couple of takeaways from that. I know Emily is on here as well, and she can chime in, and I'll show her chat on the screen. But I feel like everybody brought projects kind of from soup to nuts, right? We had some people who were making projects up and just brought their bead stash. We had lots of people brought their bead kits and got help from Emily and I. So many of you had your iPads and were streaming the tutorials, the live tutorials, which I was like, oh my gosh, they watch us. They really, really watch us, which was great. I learned a lot of things that I want to do in the future for demos. Emily was working on an amazing split loom necklace that hopefully she will post in the bead table. It was really interesting. I think a lot of you really found that looming part very interesting. We brushed up on our pearl knotting techniques. I did a lot of knotting all weekend. The piece that I made, it took me all weekend. I don't know. I was beading slowly. Some of you were beading much faster. But I did this piece and I'm going to share it with you. It's kind of a modified treasure necklace with pearls and pre-made hoops. I think I'm going to use that as a project coming up, maybe on a Free Tip Friday, because I think it's a cool way to show off some treasures. We had someone do an Apple Watch. We've got the Apple Watch findings coming in to do your own beaded Apple Watch. We learned what to do and what not to do with that one. So there was a whole variety, and there was a whole variety of people from all over the US who were watching, who were attending. And I know sometimes it can be a little nervous, right? When you go to a place, some of you have returned and have been there retreat after retreat, but some of you who attended, it was your very first time. And it takes a little bit of a leap of faith to pack up all of your beads and head off to the hills in San Juan Bautista, California, with a bunch of ladies you don't know, though you kind of know Emily and I through this screen. So it was a lot of fun. And I think right away on Friday night, we felt that we had found kind of our group, right? Our tribe, our bead family. So it was great. It was really wonderful and uh, really creatively stimulating to see all of you all there. I did do a quick little live broadcast. It's in our bead table group. The reception up there isn't great for live broadcasting. As you can tell by some of the old broadcasts we've done up there. But Emily will pull those photos together. We'll post some on the bead table. But it was really, really wonderful. The food was great, and a big thank you to the San Juan Bautista Retreat Center for hosting us and being such great, great hosts there. So today, kids, I am going to revisit an older project. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Janice. I think the history on this project was actually your idea to begin with. And you can see on our video, the beaded braid, that Nicole does the video. And I'm going to do a little bit of a Kate twist on this, but so many people used wax linen this weekend at the retreat, and I just felt like doing another waxed linen technique for you guys. So I'm actually going to start this out. I'm going to start it, talk about lengths, talk about how we work with the wax linen here, and we'll see where we go. Okay, so let me get this over. I'm keeping one eye on those comments too. Let's take a look at what I've got. Let me center this over. I'm going to move me over right here, move this over. Someday I'll have a camera person or not, whatever. And let's get that going. Okay. So, oh great, Cindy's saying, I recently watched Nicole's video and made a bunch of beaded braid bracelets. I'm pretty sure I posted a pic on the bead table. Thank you, Cindy, for sharing that. I'll have to look for it. It's a cool piece, and I'm sorry I don't have a sample here, but you're going to see the sample evolve in front of your eyes as we start. So the beaded braid could be made into a bracelet for sure, but I think what I'm going to do is a necklace here today. Okay. Oh, Michelle, thank you. I'm glad you like this necklace. I'll show it to you at the end. This is actually a kit that's coming up, so I'm teasing you a little bit with it. So the components, the thing about this beaded braid is, you guys, that you don't need that much stuff for it, right? Oh, Janice has the samples. That's right. When we were cleaning up, not cleaning up, but kind of sorting out all the samples and stuff, Janice has some of them. And so, but we've got really great photos on the website, so you'll be able to take a look at them. So the beads that I've chosen, let me pull a few more off of here. If you look at the samples under beaded braid, we do it in quite a few different ways. The through line of it is that they all used wax linen, and they all kind of have that boho kind of braided quality to them. Okay. So I've got one spool. This is the dark rust. Now you could use any color you want. This is the skipping stones mix that I made, right? Those guys. I they're up now. They're already more than halfway sold out. So if you love these, it's just a little gooseberry bead mix that I did. And there's plenty for you to do the beaded braid. So those are available. And yes, Kim Crawford, you do spy. These are ancient clay beads. They're terracotta beads from Africa. They're old beads. I thought this was kind of a last minute addition, but I haven't used these in so long, and I forget how much I love them. So I'm using these. And then, of course, I needed a shadow bead. So I actually had the regular size shadows, but you could use little shadows as well. And I used copper as my theme. I have this hoop, the hammer connected. Let me try this again. The hammered teardrop connector in antique brass. And antique copper, sorry. And you can see there's a loop right there. We're going to do a few little dangles from there. And I used the honeycomb button because, again, I like this um, hammered kind of look. Whoops, there we go. So it was good. I like this hammered look, and I think it kind of goes with all of this. So I'm going to, the way I do this, let me get me back up here. The way that I measure, this wax linen is 10 yards, okay? Again, my super scientific way of measuring, okay? I'm going to give myself, it's kind of hard for you to see, but I'm going to want this to hang kind of up here, kind of like this necklace is. So I'm going to give myself, I don't know, maybe about this much. It's hard for you to see, but I'm going to measure this. And the clay beads are available. They're under Ancient Clay, if you search that out, under our Tribal and Trade collection. All of this, the recipe and the ingredients for this is under our on beadshop.com. And this project, I will tell you, is called, I can't even remember what I called it. I called it Summer Stones is what I called it. So you just go right to Beaded Braid, click on that photo, and you'll see the whole listing there of everything that I used. Okay. So let me go back to this one, and I will measure. So this was the length about right there. So let me just give you kind of an arbitrary measurement. Okay. Let me undo my little tape measure here. This is about a yard, okay, of length. All right. So I'm going to give myself 1 yard, 2 yards. This is a 10-yard bundle. So you have plenty of thread. I'm actually going to go a yard and just a hair more. Okay, so maybe like 40 inches. Okay. Yes, it's a bit like my cooking. Yes, Melanie is saying it's a bit like my cooking, arbitrary. That's why I'm a good cook, but I'm a terrible baker. At the retreat, one of our attendees, Sharon, made these amazing cookies that she brought wrapped up for everybody. They were, I think, the hit of the snack table. We had quite an epic snack table at the retreat, I'll tell you. But those cookies were a wonderful addition. And Sharon, if you're watching, my mom's going to email you because she wants that recipe. So it was good. And you can see Janice just printed on each of the beaded braid pieces. If you look at the older project maps that we have, you'll see some really good instructions as well. Okay, so you can kind of put them all together and see, kind of throw it up in the air and see what falls down on your beadboard. Melanie is asking that, or saying, it'll also look great with 3 different colored linen strands. You bet. One of our participants at the retreat, Nancy S., she made an Odyssey, which was beautiful. She hadn't made one before, and she couldn't believe that she hadn't made one. And she used the dark plum and the lavender in her Odyssey, and it looked just sublime. So it was, it's great. So, especially if you mix the colors kind of tonally, you could use the dark rust, the regular rust, and the brown maybe. Or I even pulled this. I think this is the teal or the turquoise. I think this is the teal. So you can decide, do whatever works for you. So I have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 strands. Okay. And the way I'm going to tackle this is, let me get this camera down a little bit closer. You can come in, come up. I'm going to go down through this button. And on Janice's piece that she did, which I really like, that's a bit long, but there we go. She left a little bit of a tail or a tassel on this. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. And I've got these 5 strands here, plenty of length, but I'm going to come in and I could knot them underneath here, but I think I'm going to macrame it, or I could silk wrap it, but maybe I'll just macrame it. Let's see. Let's put that here. I need my little, I still haven't put quite everything away from the retreat, but boy, there were beads aplenty and thread and all kinds of fun. People were really generous. We had a make it or like a take it table where people brought their orphaned beads that they no longer wanted to keep, and those beads found new homes, and the remainder of those beads that didn't find homes are going to a really great artist reuse nonprofit. So that'll be nice for them to have those beads. So it was great. It was a whole lot of fun. I had a really good time, and I hope that all of you that joined us had a really good time as well. And I look forward to seeing more of you at our next one next year. So I'm going to cut off. I have 5 strands here. So I might give myself, I don't know, 5 strands might be plenty enough. Maybe I'll just go ahead and macrame. If I need to add thread somewhere, I can. All right. So let's do this. I'm just going to cut a short piece. This is maybe 10 inches, maybe a little bit less. And I'm going to come over and I'm going to macrame this down. I didn't really find the center point of this, did I? But that doesn't really matter. And the macrame with this wax linen, and this is just a set of half hitch knots, right? So you can see here's the half hitches. And I'm just going back and forth, like so. Then I'm going to finish it before I cut anything away. I'll get my GS Hypo. I'm going to add a little bit of glue right here. And finish this off with maybe 2 more. But again, this could be a silk wrap, right? Or it could be a knot. I think one of the things we learned about this weekend, and we had a really nice kind of roundtable discussion on Saturday morning, where Emily and I led the conversation about kind of finding your creativity and kind of, um, kind of making these techniques your own kind of thing. I found it really inspiring. It was just a short talk, but I think it really kind of set the tone for the weekend. So it was really great. So here's this. You can see here, I'm going to be done. I'm going to leave this. I'm going to add maybe one more dot of the GS. The wax linen, as those of you who have worked with it, you found out that it really is, it's kind of sticky, so it stays on itself. Now, I've got these that are going to be maybe dangles at the back. I don't know. I may buy into that concept or I may not, but I'm going to just clip them out of the way for me. Okay. So let me raise this up. Now, this is 4-ply wax linen. Okay. Now, with this beaded braid, you're going to need 3 strands of braiding, okay, to braid. Now, I am going to, the beauty about this wax linen, and let me make sure I can do it. This is the 4-ply. And if you unfurl it, see how you've got the plies here? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it. It's kind of hard for you to see, but I'm going to pull it. You can see my feet down here. I'm going to pull it tight, and see how tight that is? You can also see the box that's next to me on the floor, which is a little embarrassing. But as I'm pulling, you'll see it in a second as it gets down. This is what I call stripping out the linen. So you can see, maybe if I do it on the front, there we go. You can see how I'm pulling it, and it will untwist, and you have 2 plies. Can you see that? Because it's a 4-ply. So those of you who have embroidered, I've done embroidery since I was a little girl. Maybe I'll unclip it so it'll twist. That's maybe a little bit of a better thing. When you strip out embroidery floss, right? Because you don't use all 6 plies of floss. And it takes just a little bit of technique here. See, because it wants to twist. So, and this is kind of a long one to untwist, but you just have to be patient. There it goes. See, I'm actually now untwisting it or unplying it from this side. Okay. So you just have to be patient. Once in a while, when I pull these plies, the thread breaks, but it doesn't, that's really okay. What I do is, and if this does break, and now it's a big tangle, perfect. If it does break, you just tie it back on. So if something breaks, hopefully maybe it will, and I can show you how to fix that. But since this wax linen is so sticky, this pulling of the plies kind of a deal can be a little harrowing. See, now I've got that really nice knot snarl there. So I think I'm only going to do this to maybe about 2. So I've got some different thicknesses in my necklace, as well as, there we go. See, you just have to be patient. There, that snarl just went. I'm really close. I'm going to put it there. A little gross putting it in my mouth, but whatever. We're almost there. And I said to put it tight, but it might actually be easier to just kind of untwist it like this. So see how I have my hands here? And this is helping me along. A shorter piece is a lot easier to untwist, but you just have to be patient. I'm so close. You can also just twist some, right? I could have these 2 plies and then go into this single ply, right? But I want these to be all done. And I think it's, I don't know, you might be wondering, well, Kate, is it easier to strip those plies out before you put everything in? I don't know that it is. Maybe it is. You can kind of try both ways, but you just have to be determined. This I probably should have done before I went on camera, but I didn't think it would be quite this hard. But I'm almost done here. Okay. So you don't have to strip out these plies, right? You can use the full 4-ply, but I just wanted to show you that this could happen. And it gives kind of a nice skinny look to that thread when you're braiding it. There we go. Maybe stripping them out beforehand before you tie everything so it doesn't become a tangled mess. But I'm so close, so hang in there with me, everybody. Hang in there. There we go. Look, almost there. What do I always say? Going live is not for the faint of heart, right? So here we go. And Janice is saying she likes separating the plies on the end. I know that when Nicole did this project, she did strip out the plies for some of her pieces. So I just wanted to show you that. But see how long this is, right? So we're real close. But again, it might be easier if you strip them out before you tie it all together, because then the twist will come out the bottom, right? If that makes sense. But I'm so close. And patience is a virtue. I think a lot of you who were at the retreat kind of picked up on that. It's like you can't really rush the technique, you know? Here we go. And this is evidence to how long or how strong this linen is. So it's super, oh, thanks. Emily, bless your heart. I love the real life of this. It's not filtered or airbrushed. That's for sure. I don't filter, nor do I airbrush. I might put on a little bit of a concealer. And that's what really is about making this project. And for Janice's, the ancient clay beads have pretty small holes and many won't fit on the 4-ply. And it does really have to do with the beads that you've used. But I'm almost there, and then I'm going to lay this out and I'm going to show you. Sunny asked, and believe, Sunny, I think it's your birthday today. I think I saw that on Facebook. So happiest of birthdays to you. The strands are, I'd say, about 40 inches long, about there. We're almost there. And you could use like what I have here. I have those ancient clay. I've got the shadows beads, and I have the those gooseberry skipping stones right there. So this is where you want to really be careful. So here's this. See, I want to go real close so you guys can see that. See how it's almost there. And I'm holding the tension here. We've almost got it. If we were at the bead retreat and I had one of you here with me, I would have you kind of hold this section tight and untwist it with me. But there we go. Okay, so here are the plies. So let's take a look. Let's go back to this camera. And I'm only going to strip out this single ply because I wanted you guys to see that in all of its glory. Okay. Curtis is asking, would micro Ceylon work for this project? You bet it would. You can use any thread you like for this project. Whoops. There's a picture of Chris and I. Hang on. I'm not sure why that went up, but there you go. Now you saw that cute wedding picture of Chris and I there for just a moment. Any threads will work. You could do this with CKC. You could do this with anything, really. You could mix them. You bet. Whatever you like. But I've been on this kind of wax linen kick for this. Let me find my little leash of thread here that fell on the ground. Let me get that. Let me put this down. And then let's take a look. I'm going to get these that are going to be the tassels. I'm going to get those out of the way. And this little stray, I think it's been dried enough. I'm just going to clip that away. Okay. A little bit of extra wax here that came up. There we go. So with those opening up of those plies, let's take a look now. I have that 1, 2 ply, 2 plies. I've got 3, 3, there we go, 4, 5, and 6, which is perfect for braiding. Okay? So I'm going to start with this 2-ply section. So my look for this, my goal for this, and let me get a piece of paper so you can kind of see what I'm thinking about. I want to do this with maybe like 1 short strand and maybe 1 longer strand. And you could always add in, you guys, braid it in or whatever, another set of strands, if you wanted to. So if I have my 3, this would be the braid right here that might be shorter, like that, maybe. And then maybe I'll have this longer one come down, and that's where my teardrop is going to be. And then this teardrop has a loop. So I'm going to tie some strands on that too and add some pieces down there. So I think this is going to be a ×2 strand. If I finish it and I look at it and I'm all, maybe not, I could come back in and use 2 of these tails to macrame in like 2 more strands, strip one of those strands out and use the thick strand and have a 3rd one to bead. But let's take a look. Since the ancient clay beads are a little small, like this, right? They're a little. The holes can be a little skinny. We have larger ones and they have smaller ones. It just depends on the scoop of the beads that you get. So some will probably fit on the 4-ply wax linen. But what I'm going to do is I'm not going to think about this too hard. Okay? And I'm just going to start to add some beads onto this end. So here's the end of my wax linen, you can see. And I'm going to get some of these little terracotta beads. I feel like we don't use these enough. I feel like sometimes I kind of forget about them. They're kind of a pain for us to package because they come in kind of these big, old strands. And we kind of have to clean them up and take them off the old string and make sure they're really pristine. So, whoops, sorry, I'm out of frame there. So sometimes it can be a little bit of a challenge to stock these, but right now we've got plenty. And they're really old. These types of beads would be indicative of some old vintage, old time, like ancient beads from millennia ago. So were made very similarly to this. And you can see they kind of vary in size. So I like that. I put those guys on, okay? And I'm going to put a few of these, the shadows, on next, okay? Sometimes the shadows, can you see when they're plated, they plate together? So I'm just going to put this double on. Doesn't need to be single. Once in a while that happens. Oh, here's another one. Well, let me put a single on. You could use regular shadows or little shadows. They will both work. This is still that 2-ply. This one has 3. Oh, sometimes you can break them apart. But it's just the plating sometimes that makes them stick. So there, whoops, there are these right here. Okay. Now, this one, I might use just these smaller beads on here and maybe save these gooseberry beads for this lower strand. Or maybe what I'll do, if I want this top strand to be a little smaller, see how the gooseberry beads, they vary in size. So maybe I'll just get some smaller ones. And you can mix the beads. You don't have to have one type of bead on just one strand, but I'm doing that to kind of keep my design straight. So here, and this is on the regular 4-ply. Okay, and see how I pulled that tip of the cord straight so it acts like a needle. Okay, we did this weekend a lot of the Zap Glue needles. So it's a tip that we have in our tip section on our YouTube channel as well as in our learning on beadshop.com. So if you don't know how to do the needle with the Zap Glue, it's a real handy trick to know to stiffen the ends of your threads. There you go. Pull that down. And you can always re-beeswax this if you feel like you need to. Okay, so here are my 3. Okay, like this. Now, what I want to do is I don't want these beads to be too close together as I braid because I want to see some of the wax linen because that's kind of what this project is about, you know, or seeing the thread. So this is just a 3-strand braid, right? So I'm going to braid a little bit first. I'm going to get that out of the way. And just like a regular braid, you know, over, 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 just like braiding the hair, you don't want to get a tangle on the other side. So you want to kind of pull your strands through so that the ends on the opposite end don't tangle up. Okay, whoops. That's right. There we go. And I'm keeping this a fairly tight braid. See how I'm pulling it up as I braid, kind of doing that. Now I've got a little bit of space there, right? I've gone a little, let me get a little closer so you can see it. I've gone a little ways. And see what I mean about tangling if you're not careful. As you're braiding, your pieces down here your braid down here will tangle up. So you want to be kind of careful. You can tie a stopper bead at the end if you want, or you can just kind of be careful not to have your beads fall off the bottom. Or you could do this braiding before you add your beads onto your strand, which you could do. So let me untangle that. I got a little braiding crazy. Every 2 or 3 rounds of the braid, I come in and I untangle. So there we go. Okay. So that's there. And you can see I've got some of the 2-ply and I've got one of the 4-ply. Okay. So let's slide up one of these beads and braid. So it's braided in. And I'll go kind of twice. There we go. And I could do this in order. So next, maybe I'll slide up a terracotta. And I'm sliding it up on the one that's on the outside. So I do the over and under. And then I'll do a little bit of ways over and under, keeping the tension on the braid, right? So now maybe it's time for a gooseberry bead. And the ends, they'll want to tangle if you're not, What I'm going to do, because I am afraid that the beads will fall off, I'm going to slide one of these single ones like this. And I'm just going to loop it through so that I know my beads aren't going to fall off. Okay, that's going to make me a little less timid with my braiding. And I'll do that here. Let's see if I can get that through doubled. Yep, I sure can. See that there? So I'm not tying a knot. I'm just doing that little doubled over stopper. So let me put that down there. Good. And let me do that with this terracotta here. And bring that down. Okay. Mel was saying I could use the Kumihimo Bobbins. I sure could, I guess, to help prevent the knotting portion of this. That might be a good idea to use those bobbins. Let me go ahead and slide one of these. Oh no, I want a gooseberry bead up. So I'll slide it on this side. It doesn't really matter where you add it. But see, if I have the beads tied, watch what I do here. I'm going to open this up a little bit so you can see. As I braid, I can pull that strand kind of all the way through so it's not tangling. Kind of like when you do braiding of hair, right? It's the exact same thing. And you don't have to do these in order either. Let me bring a shadow bead down. Go on. There it goes. And braid. And again, you don't always have to add them from the right or to the left. And it does not have to be even. But you do want to keep the tension. Can you see the tension there? Yeah, the stop bead really makes a difference. Thanks, Cindy, for reinforcing that. It does. I was thinking I didn't need one, but I obviously was wrong. So here's that. And then you just kind of keep going, okay? Adding in your pieces, however you want to do it. What Nicole did on one of hers that I really liked is she did sections of all the same bead and then she switched to the next bead. That also looks good. Let me do just a couple more and then I'll show you what we're going to do with that extra piece. There we go. I'm getting into the groove of this braid. One more terracotta. And it goes pretty quickly once you've got everything, lined up. And I'm going to measure, I'm getting close to maybe about a third of the way. Maybe I want a little more thread showing. Okay, like that. All right, so there's this section. Let me lift this up a bit. Now, I've got this one. So what I could do is I could strip out another strand of these so that I have another beaded braid here. Or I could just simply add another strand. And I could just do some knotting on this bottom one, which is, I think, is what I might do. Let me see if I can strip this out kind of quickly. Because if you look at the strands that I've got here, this makes, let me get a little tighter so you can really see that. See how slim that braiding is because I used a two plies and one 3-ply. See that? I think that's pretty attractive that way, that it's not too super heavy. I think that looks pretty good. So maybe we'll do that with this one. Let me take this off. I'll send you back to the front. And you can decide, I mean, 10 yards of this, let me put myself here. 10 yards of this thread goes a long, long way. So see how I'm pulling it and it's twisting, untwisting there at the bottom. So again, I think maybe if you do this pre-tying, pre-closing the ends, it might be easier for you to untwist it. But I want to do this right, so I am going to take the moment here to untwist. It doesn't really take that long. Once I've done about half, you have kind of a heavy twist on here. And this also comes from my background of doing thread spinning, okay, right? This twist, it either goes to the right or the left, depending on if it's an S twist or a Z twist. That's what it's called, the direction that it's going to. So this one, it's almost there, but keep that tension on it and pull. Now again, if you're pulling too hard and you break the thread, all I would do is, you guys, is tie it together in a little knot or braid that short section that I have in and just add the broken strand in as I get kind of a short piece while I'm braiding, if that makes sense. You can just kind of add it in. But what I would really probably do is just tie a little overhand knot. It probably won't be seen. And then you can just glue it. What you don't want to do is twist this back on itself, like I did right here. Because again, this wax linen is sticky. Almost there. Keep those tails away from that twist. I did a demo this weekend on how to make tassel cord. And the tassel cord, when you twist it, twists back on itself. And so that's what I'm getting here. There we go. You just have to let this thread not get the best of you. Right? So I'm going to leave this for the moment, and I want to talk about the charm strand. So I'm going to put this back down because this is almost done, and I'll finish that up in a minute, but I don't want it to tangle. So close. So let's put this back on the board. Okay. So this is my untwisted strand here. I'm going to untwist it just a little bit more. You can also do this by hand when it's laying down. See how I'm untwisting the plies like this? It really is a testament to how strong this Irish wax linen is, that it can take all of this handling, right? And you can re-wax it if you feel like too much of the wax has left the building. Okay, so we're real close. So here is my end. Oh, and if you'll notice, do as I say and not as I do. See that right there? I have extra thread up there because I didn't pull it tight through my button. I wasn't paying attention. So the way I might try and fix that is pull on these tails. Sorry, I'm out of focus. Can you see that right there? I don't want that. Can I pull it down maybe? Pulling one strand, yep, one strand at a time. See how that's gonna pull that down? There we go. Now it's nice and tight. That's what we're going for. Okay, so that's, phew, I'm glad I noticed that. Now, let my mistakes be your gain. Okay, so let's get this back there, like so. Let's get these tails out of the way, like so. And here's that double strand that I'm going to finish unfurling a little bit later. But let me get that single ply out of here, because we're going to focus on that for the dangle strand. Okay, so I have these three here, and I've got another one here, another plain strand. So let's get this back in order. All right, so what do I like the looks of? There we go. I don't want to be too twisty up there. Okay, so this is going to be that 2-ply here, and I'm going to do that same kind of braiding that I did here for that one. Okay, but let's take a look at how we're going to deal with this teardrop. Okay, first of all, we need to figure out how we're going to attach it. Okay, I could tie it on, which I might do. I'm going to make the dangles on this piece first, I think, is what I'm going to do. So I've got plenty of thread left. Your beadboard is about 14 inches long. So I'm going to cut one 14-inch piece. And you're going to see how fast this piece just strips out because it's short. It's not one of those super long ones. There we go. So I've got those plies. Okay, like that. That one. I've got this one. Maybe I want 4. I don't know. Let's try 4 and see how that looks. Because they're going to be doubled over, so that means there might be 8 strands coming out of there. So unfurl it there. Now you could tassel or just hang a charm. You don't have to use the wax linen, but I thought, I'm going to use the wax linen. Let me strip this out. We also talked a lot about this weekend kind of designing on the fly and designing with a limited palette because, at a retreat, you can't bring your whole bead stash. So people sometimes were forced to make decisions on what the supplies were that we had at hand. And that was kind of a fun thing to work with. Okay, so here's this. Let me move this out of the way a little bit so this is clear. I'm going to get a little closer here so you can see. Okay, I'm going to put all of these together. And I'm going to go through the loop of that tiara cast hammered component. Did all of them go through? Nope. Let's get that one through. Okay, like that. Now, I'm going to hold it up to my eyes a little bit so I can see it. There we go. I'm going to bring all of these through and forward. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie a knot underneath there. Just an overhand so that the threads will stay where I put them. And the overhand knot does not have to be right up against that loop. You see that? And it's kind of a fat knot because there's so many threads, but I'm okay with that. What I'm going to do, those of you who have seen me do this pearl knotting thing, I'm going to pull these strands kind of individually to pull in any wayward sections, from that knot. Let me lift this so I'm in frame. This also would look good even if you did the body of your piece in one color. This I think would look good also multicolored. There we go. Tighten each of these up so that the knot is nice and even. Can you see how nicely that looks? That could also be a silk wrap if you wanted. Okay. So now I'm going to add some beads to this tassel. And I can decide, I could do some braids out of this, but I kind of like the way that this fringe looks. So I'm going to choose one. And I don't really know how long or what length I want to make this. Now, since this is a thinner strand, I can double check and see if my knot is going to hold this. It will. It'll hold those. Let me tie another one on here, maybe a smaller gooseberry bead, and check the knot to make sure that it doesn't jump over the hole. If it does, I'll put that one maybe down here. I can tie a double once and twice. Tie it down. You could also put a seed bead next to it so it doesn't jump over, but that one jumps over. So let me tie. This probably needs 3 strands. And I don't have to strip out all the strands either. I could have a heavier strand, but there we go. That's going to be good. And then I'll just keep going. I can go across and keep adding. I could also do this here. I could just see how this shadow bead is so big. I could just put it into place and just like my stopper bead, double it through. And there you have it. It's never going to be noticed. Okay. So then I'll try and lay these out so that they will kind of come across in order, but it doesn't really matter. I don't know why I'm even saying that, but let's get one of these guys here. I want one a little closer to the top, I think, not just under the loops. I'll go through once, go through twice, tighten it down. I'm not too worried about where these knots are falling because this is all going to look good. See that there? Let me do one more. It's kind of twisted, so untwist. Let me see if I can see this. It's kind of hard. These little wiry pieces of thread. There we go. So this is, I think I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I know why. I was like, that didn't look quite right. 2 of these plies came apart. So that's a single ply. So I want to put these back because I should only have 4. See how those 2 kind of said, oh, we're going to go out on our own. So put those back together because I should only have 8. Yeah, there we go. But you could also do this with a single ply too, right? So I'm going to put those 2 back together. There we go. Let me grab this one. You could wax them so they sat together, but they should be fine. Let me get a gooseberry bead. I think it's time for one of those. A stripy stripe. Let's do this. Let's see if this goes back double through that gooseberry loop, that hole, just for fun. It does, see that? And I don't mind that instead of the knots. You see a little bit of thread on the other side, and I think Nicole actually does this in her project. But see how it's running along the outside, right? Okay. So as this tassel forms, you can also see how viable this little section of the design would be for an earring, right? It's nice and light with this cord. So you could just earring it too, and the fringe wouldn't have to be that long. I could just cut it like right there, add an ear wire up top, and it would be a great earring for this. I'm going to add another terracotta a little further down. And then I'd probably do one more section of beads, at least one, because I might want this tassel to be kind of long. I don't know. The rest of the necklace is really going to inform how long I want this tassel to be. I can get one ply through there, push the bead up with your finger to kind of open up the tunnel there. There we go. And send those 2 strands through. And you just tell it where you want it to sit, right there. And I've got one more. I think I'll do one more of these kind of up top. Okay. All open to your personal interpretation. There we go. Let's take a look. So here's the beginning of that fringed center. And I think I'll go down maybe like a little bit further. And Erica's saying you could have strands on both sides of the teardrop. I could have it going through the back and through the front. You could do that. I decided to pull them all to the front, but whatever works for you. Okay. So now I'm going to measure this on me and find the center of this. Okay, so let me put myself here. I'm going to undo this. And this is something you just kind of have to guess. So if my button is here and I'm coming around, and let's say I want that drop to sit maybe about right here. Let's see what that length is. You can see it's about right there. So I'm going to measure this. This is my extremely scientific method of figuring that out. Let me get I was wearing there it is, my tape measure, but I think I took it off. So I want to add that bottom dangle at about 10 inches. Okay? So this is going to go on the bottom strand. So I'm going to arrange it now this way. Okay, let me get these off of here, these off of here. I'm just going to use my clamp to clamp that on. And I know that 10 inches is going to be about right here. So with that single strand, that's going to be the one that has the dangle on it. I'm just going to, I think it's this strand. I'm just going to add a few beads along here. All my thread is getting tangled down there. So, nope, it's not that one. We'll make it this one. There we go. And clip it. Clip that back there. There we go. This is it right here. Okay. So I am just going to randomly do like some float beads. Now here's the 4-ply. See with this one, how small that is? That hole doesn't work. So let me go and find another one that has a bigger hole, and that one does work. Okay, so I'm going to tie this on. And these really just float. So there is no reason to worry about where these knots are going to sit. So let me get one of these. And I'm going to knot these on for about 10 inches. Then I'm going to show you what I'm going to do, how I'm going to connect it. I could connect it with a jump ring, but I wanted it to have a little more of an organic feel, as few metal findings components as I could have. So there we go. And I also want to make them kind of close together. I'm trying to pick out some of these gooseberry beads that have smaller holes so that these don't jump over. But the knots, I think, add a lot to this piece. Let's throw in a shadow. The shadows, these, especially the large shadows, or the regular size shadows, not the big shadows, I'm just going to loop through, like in the old days when we made those pearl floats, those invisible pearl floats with fishing line. Remember that? How you used to go back and through the bead? That's just what I'm doing here. Let me get a little closer so you can see it. So I'm not too worried about the knots in here. The knots, I think, look great. Let's see if I can find another terracotta bead with a hole that will work. This one does. And tie the knot. Okay? Like so. I like these terracotta beads in here. They were really a last minute addition for me. I actually did it yesterday because I was looking at my palette and I was thinking, well, I don't know. Maybe I need something else. And thankfully, I had just ordered some of these in because I thought, you know what? I haven't used these in a while. So I'm really pleased to add them in. So see that there? And you can do this whole necklace like this, kind of Odyssey-esque like this, so that you do have space, in between, and there's just knots. You don't have to do the braid. This gooseberry bead has a big hole, so I'm going to opt to do that loop through. There we go. Tie another knot down here. We're almost ready to add that center piece. Let me take a quick measurement and see where we are. We want to get to 10 inches, and then we're going to add this guy. So almost there. I need to go to about right here. So let's get your friend and mine. Let's put on 2. So I'm going to put 1 that floats, and then I'm going to put 1 that doesn't, and go back through. This would also look great as a single strand that wraps and wraps and wraps. I like that too. If you kind of get in the wrong place, just open it up just a little. You could use your awl for that. I'm not sure what happened to my awl, but there we go. And that'll just kind of float there. Tie another knot. Terracotta bead. Let's try that one. I think it has a bigger hole. It does. Good job. And tighten. Am I close? Almost. Gooseberry bead. Again with a big hole. So let's loop this through. Janice linked a project that we did way back when we had the brick and mortar. It's called Floating Spaces. It's done like this, where you just loop the beads through and kind of let them sit where they may instead of knotting them into place. Okay, one more here. Then I have to find a bead that is going to fit these strands going up and back, and I'll show you what I mean. So here's this. Let me tie the knot. Let me tighten this up. Okay, so I've got that. Then, yeah, that's close enough. Then I'm going to come in. Maybe I'll just make one more. Then I'm going to come in with my bead that has a big hole. I want one more, so it doesn't look so bare there. But that one has a knot tied. All right. And I'm going to use this guy here. So watch what I do. I put the shadow bead on. Let me get nice and tight there. Okay. Then, let me get it up there a little bit so you can see it. I'm going to go through that teardrop and back up through that metal bead. So see how that's attached? It's pretty seamless. There's not a knot. There's not a jump ring. Okay, do you want me to show you that again? You're like, wait a minute, what happened? Let me pull this down. I put something that had a large hole, this shadow bead. Okay, I strung on my tassel, my centerpiece, Then I went back up and through that shadow, and then you can kind of adjust it. Okay, so there's that. Then I do this a lot. You know, a lot of times when do we do a multiple strand necklace like this, we do this. We send like everything through our centerpiece and pull this to the side, right? And start stringing and start stringing. But this, it's nice. It just sits, it goes down, it goes back up. It's like this is a stopper bead. It's the same thing that Emily does with her fringed elements when she did that fringed right angle weave thing or whatever it was she did. I didn't know if it was right angle weave or whatever, but it was that fringe bracelet, right? She's got a line of seed beads. She puts a stopper bead on and then she goes back down and there's that long piece of fringe. It's the same thing. Okay, except instead of coming back down and across to make that long piece of fringe, we pull it to the right and we just keep going. I love it that you guys are blown away. I love that. This has been a trick I've been using forever. I can't believe I haven't shown you this before. So now, pardon me, we're just going to keep going and we can be as random as we want to be. So this will get another 10 inches or so. And I'm going to keep going with this. I'm going to put on a few more, and then I want to talk about the closure. I'm going to finish this, and I will let you guys see it. I should be able to share this with you on a free tip, but the closure is going to be really very easy for you, and I'm going to show you actually what I'm going to do so you can do this to close it. Okay. Oh, I love it that you guys love it. I'm just blown up the broadcast with this technique. I am super stoked about that. I love it. I like things with dangles. I like things with centerpieces, and I like the connection to be pretty seamless. Okay, so let's look at everything we've got here. All right, let me lift this up so we can see. I'm going to unclip that. So you can see with this beaded braid, the way that I'm going to measure this, this is going to be just slightly longer. This one might be 19 inches. This one up here might be 18 inches, right? So it graduates just slightly. All right. Then when I've measured that and I've come over here, you've got some choices to make for a closure. Essentially, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of stop, probably clip all of these together. Then I'm going to braid these all together. So it's just a braided end. Okay. Then I'm going to loop it back, that braid, on itself. And I'm going to make sure the loop that's the braid, and it'll be nice and slim because this will be the braid. It'll be a little bit tighter. I want to make sure that braid fits through that button. And then I'll macrame back down this section so it looks like that underneath the braid. Let me get a little closer so you can see it. Okay. I don't want tassels or like ends, like tails on both ends. So this side I will probably just cut away close underneath the macrame. But go along, finish this up, stop, clamp, braid the loop as long as you need it, plus a little bit more maybe. Put it underneath here, bring them together. Start your macrame here and work your macrame down so that the length of the macrame there and the length of the macrame that you did underneath your button are the same. Does that make sense? And so that's it. Really easy and really wearable, I think. Let me put this on the front cam so you can kind of see if I've got so many things around my neck, but so it'll sit right kind of like this. And then I can make a decision about how long I want these tassels. And I'll actually probably finish these tassels after I finish the necklace. So I know, does it look better a little bit longer? Does it look better a little bit shorter? And you've got plenty. See how much thread I've got? I've got plenty of thread to work with. Okay. Oh, and that's a good tip, Cindy. I'm going to show that. Her experience with the beaded braid, the braided loop and button closure is the wax linen will stretch a bit. So make that loop a little bit tight. But can you see here how it's all kind of coming together? It'll look real nice once that other beaded braid stuff is done on the top. So I'll have this finished and Claire will have it up on the project map, hopefully fairly soon. But let me show you this last look over here. Right, so you can see, you take that off, so you can kind of see how this is going to all come together. And then these ends here on this guy here, I will probably unfurl these so they're thinner, so they kind of match this dangle here. And since my hair is short, I will probably add a few beads onto these. If it's too many, I can just cut them away, right? But I think I'm going to add a little bit of fringe onto the back. I also don't have to unfurl them. I could do a few that are unfurled and a few that are just plain, but we'll probably add a little bit of tassel back there. So it's about this long, which is about 3 inches or so, about that. So you've got plenty of thread there to do that with. Okay, so that's that. Let me give you a sneak peek. If all goes well, on Friday we're releasing some kits of a necklace that I call the Blossom Trail. And this is a little kit that I've had up my sleeve for a while. On Friday I'll talk to you about what the Blossom Trail is, but it's just a very pretty little kit that echoes Janice's piece that I've got here. I took my inspiration from this piece of Janice's. You guys may remember this one that she did that she wears all the time. She strung this one on Softlex, and see this closure? You can see here this closure. She just did that little leather loop like this, and a charm. I have the same thing here, the leather loop and the charm, but I chose to string mine on silk, so there's a little bit of knotting in here. Janice did hers on Softlex, but you could also do this on Softlex with a wire guard, but your silk comes with the kit, and you can see there's a nice little vermeil chalcedony drop that goes on there, and we have a little pearl button that we've made out of the flat pearl. So that's coming on Friday on Free Tip, so I'll show you. And stay tuned to your newsletter because we'll have info on the website on or in the newsletter rather, on when the kit drops on Friday. So do remember, friends, that you can find us on all of our social media right here at beadshop.com on Instagram, Facebook, The Bead Table, and you can like and subscribe to us at beadshop.com on our YouTube so you don't miss a chance of our techniques and our short tutorials. Emily's going to be doing a whole series of seed bead school tutorials. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. And then you can also, don't forget, find all of the information on the project and products from today's broadcast right on our website. Jump over to beadshop.com and of course sign up to our newsletter for the latest discounts, giveaways, and new products. So that, whoops, there I am. So that, my friends, is that. Friday, take a look for the Blossom Trail kits. Next week, Janice is going to be on with me because we are making a lariat with some brand new components that we are releasing. It's going to be really fun. It's not really a lariat. It's more like, well, you'll see. It's going to be chain and brios. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think you guys will love it. Then we've got Emily coming up soon with a great necklace that she's designed. So stay tuned to those newsletters. You're going to see a lot of fun stuff. And I can't wait for you to see the September monthly mix that's coming out September 1st, because it's one that I did, because September is my birthday month. So I did that. So that is it. Please go ahead and hit that like button, hit that share button. All of those likes and shares really helps us and helps other beaders find what we love to put out there in the world, which is education. So thanks so much, everybody, for joining me on this Wednesday broadcast. And I will see all of you on Friday for Blossom Trail. Thanks so much, everybody. Talk to you soon.